Hello everyone! Happy September! September means back to school, and this is a back to school show. Welcome to Tanchaz Talk. Tanchaz Talk is the world's only English language program focusing primarily on Hungarian folk music. I'm your host, Kalman Magyar Öcsi, coming to you from Toronto, actually from the law office of Magyar, Bogle and O'Hara in Toronto, Canada. So we've already had 8 music and stories episodes. This is the 9th, and 9 Tanchaz Talk interviews as well. And the interviews are long form, it's like a podcast type of long form interviews with many different types of guests, all related somehow to Hungarian folk music, folk dance, and I think it's been really fantastic to have those. And those are available not just on YouTube, and I post them on Facebook, but importantly in podcast form. So you go to the Spotify or Google or Apple podcast stores. It's all free, well, except for Spotify, but you can get these at the Google Podcasts or Apple Podcast apps. Get the apps and then just subscribe to Tanchaz Talk. So that's, we got over 24 hours of content now, which is kind of nuts to think about. But I'm really having a good time, very interesting time for me in terms of the music and stories episodes, to really kind of reconnect with my repertoire of all this music I have, all these recordings, databases of recordings and some stuff on YouTube that I play. It's also been great to kind of unearth all these stories that I have in my head, and also to tell some new ones, to learn a bit myself as I prepare for these shows, for instance about Dunántúl, or I talk about the geographical closeness of villages, yet how different their music and dance might be. It's been really interesting for me. And then forget the interviews. The interviews have been amazing for me to get to know people that I've already known, and this month I'll be interviewing people that I've never met before, so that's very exciting. And it's really transforming me as a musician, and it's kind of philosophically to think about Hungarian folk music. Anyway, it's been great. Of course, none of this would be possible without the generous support of the show sponsors like Amazoli.com or Amazoli Prime if you need immediate delivery, Netflix, HajnaliLyrics.com, etc. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it means you've missed an old episode, so you gotta catch up. You gotta catch up with all these interviews. During this back to school episode, I'll be talking about and playing some music relating to kids and adults, and some related stories as well about music education and relationships and all kinds of fun stuff heading into the school season. I'm also rolling out graduate level courses at my recently opened Tanchaz University. Sounds like Trump University? Tanchaz University. I'd like to introduce the first 2 graduate level courses that I'll be rolling out at this university. One is called, it's a linguistics class, Üstürü, Ökrös, Bürkös, and Tükrös, a comparative analysis of umlaut-laden band names. By the way, that's not for real. These are kind of trying to be funny jokes. I hope you like that one. Üstürü, Ökrös, Bürkös, and Tükrös, umlaut-laden band name, comparative analysis. Here's another one. This is like a law school, like a legal class level class. It's called Playing the Bagpipes in Your Apartment and Other Strategies for Early Termination of Residential Leases. You like that one? Okay. So those are fake graduate level courses at the recently launched Tanchaz University. Might as well do it now. It'll be online probably for the first year. Okay, so Kids, welcome back to school. Teachers, welcome back to school. I'm sure it's like the Twilight Zone out there. Things changing every day. Kids too, hang in there. You might be going online. You might be going in class. Are you happy? Who cares? Nobody asked you. It's a great song I wanted to start the show with, and you guys all know it's a Széki Csárdás. Iskolába nem járattak, olvasni se tanítottak, két szemedből kiolvasom, hogy szívedbe bánat vagyon. You like that? That's the lyrics are really cool, actually. The lyrics mean they didn't send me to school. They didn't even teach me how to read. But I have the ability, just by looking at your eyes, to determine that you have pain in your heart. How about that? Nice little ditty there from Transylvania. Isn't a great music here from the Tükrös band. Speaking of umlaut-laden band names, and this is from their album Hegyen Völgyön, some music from Székelyföld, Transylvania. This is a great album because they get all the Tükrös kids. Now this is a while ago. These kids are older now. They got these kids to all sing. It's really nice. Everybody, megy a gőzös tanizsár, csuk-csuk, off to school. Another graduate level class at Tanchaz University. This is in the statistics and microeconomics department. Ready? Major or minor chord? Statistical analysis and decision making for the amateur contra player. That's called major or minor chord. I know some guys and gals that could use that class. Statistical analysis and decision making for the amateur contra player. Kicsi vagyok én! Actually a hurricane season song. That's I am small and I am young and I am poor because the big winds took my roof away, so I have no roof above my house. It's kind of sad. It's a Gulf of Mexico type of hurricane song. You gotta love any song with palacsinta in it. Palacsinta. Beautiful Hungarian crepes. Je t'aime la crêpe. That's Tükrös on their album Hegyen Völgyön, designed for kids, by kids. It's a nice album with a nice selection of music, and we'll have something from that later on as well. Well, September also means generally for dance groups, you know, coming back to practicing and you know, and we'll there's I'm not sure even what people are doing right now in terms of dancing. I know some dance groups are holding practices live, but there's no contact, physical contact. They try to avoid that and for the next several months, and that's a smart, advisable thing to do. In Hungary, I know, for instance, they're already pretty much back, but then again, they're hitting a bit of a second wave. So who knows what's the right thing to do and what people are doing, but hang in there, guys, of course. For the next several months, it'll be kind of touch and go. You know, speaking of going back to dance groups, of course, my childhood dance group was the Hungaria dance group, in New York City and New Jersey area. We performed all over the place. The group was formed in 1962 by a group of young Hungarians hanging out in Central Park in New York City. And they said, hey, why don't we just start dancing? And that's a fun idea. They didn't know what the heck they were doing, but they all got together. And of course, a year later, my dad joined them, and then my mom joined them, and that's where they met. And voila, here I am, Tanchaz Talk in Toronto. The dance group kind of shut down in the 90s, and then Csürdöngölő in New Brunswick, nearby New Brunswick, New Jersey, picked up as the kind of 2.0 version of that, although not quite. But we used to, Hungaria had a senior dance group, and then the junior dance group, and the little ones, they were called Újvár. My mom started that one in the 70s. I was in that one first. We used to travel all over the place, of course, and there was the great Pontozó festivals, which we always talk about. And the big one, one of the big ones was in 1986 in St. Catharines, and you could watch that whole Pontozó if you want. It's on YouTube. Thankfully, Dobby Gobby put this all stuff, digitized all of this, and put it on the YouTube, so you could watch Pontozó 1986 in St. Catharines. Maybe you were there. There's a lot of dancers there, and that was probably the first year that my sister and I, this was before even Eletfa was officially formed, this is when we kind of started playing live, and we were playing for the younger dancers there, and the bass player was Rosko Béla. Ildikó, my sister, played the violin, and I played the kontra, the viola, and Rosko Béla, the guest musician from Hungary, from the Délibáb band, played the bass. And well, if anyone's curious what I sounded like playing the kontra at the age of 12, you're about to find out. My sister's 14 and I'm 12, and this is us playing for the kids Délaföldi music. You know, it's not perfect. You could also hear me singing. Of course, it's not you know, the best recording. It's from 1986, but I figure we watch this or listen to this. This is nice dancing music for kids. From southern Great Plains of Hungary, from the Délaföld. The guy singing out of tune is me. My sister's the one that's singing well in tune. If you want to watch along, this is Pontozo 1986 starting at minute 48. It's on YouTube. There's some old friends. Pajoska, Shira Yani, my goodness. Moro Cerika, man. We were all so young. That's me. Oh boy. You have to pay me extra now to sing that high, I'll tell you. I can't squeeze that hard. A year after this, Eletfa would officially be founded in 1987 in New Jersey. Well, that's me at the age of 12 playing with my sister at the age of 14. Figure we go back to those good old days in school. That was around the time I was getting detention once in a while for being a jerk. So kids, be nice to your teachers. So going back to school, you know, awkward relationships, meeting new people. I remember crying in heading into the 3rd grade. We had just moved from Bogota, New Jersey, over to Teaneck, New Jersey. It's about a mile away, but it was a very different type of atmosphere in Teaneck. You know, new school, a much bigger type of town. I was crying upstairs, I remember, on the 3rd floor. I don't want to go to school. Things worked out fine, of course, over time. So kids, hang in there if you're scared about going to the new school. But, you know, awkward time with relationships, and even in, of course, in university and high school. Maybe you're get your first kiss, and I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about a great album I did well, she did the great album. I was backing her up musically. Zagyva Natalia, you guys remember her, the old singer for Eletfa, and then she moved back to Hungary, and she's there now, and still working in the folklore field. And we recorded this CD before she moved back up to Boston first, and before then she moved back to Budapest after that. And the album is called Szép Szivárvány. We recorded it in my basement studio back in Morris. No, that was still in Rockaway Borough, Rockaway, New Jersey. And the song that I like to play for you is called Nem vagy legény Berci. It's one of the only songs I know that starts with a ütő gardon solo, with a percussive cello solo. So listen to that. I just want to tell you, this is speaking of the first kiss, this is there's great lyrics here on this song that says, Berci, that's a boy's name. Berci, you're such a wuss. You don't have the guts to kiss me, but I am going to kiss you. So this is kind of a women's liberation, young women's liberation type of song. And Berci, man up, man, take the girl. So, Nem vagy legény Berci featuring Zagyva Natalia and myself backing up on all the instruments. There it is.
Legény Berc, és nem mersz megcsókolni, pedig lány létemre merek csókot adni. Hadd tapsadok, és az ügyes legénynek, hisz jól tudom magamról, hogy jól esik szegénynek. Estény, ne szállj rám, beteg vagyok én, csókolj meg édes rózsám, meggyógyulok én. Kéretének, remetére oda nem adának, csomafalvi bognyasőnek oda locsantának. Eslégy, ne szállj rám, beteg vagyok én, csókolj meg édes rózsám, meggyógyulok én. Eslégy, ne szállj rám, beteg vagyok én, csókolj meg édes rózsám, meggyógyulok én.
I'll never forget, we had a gig with Nati in New York, and her little daughter was there, the first kid I think, and the kid fell asleep, and we put the kid in the bass case backstage, and the kid was sleeping. She was sleeping in the bass case in the back, the soft bass case. That was pretty funny. A long time ago. Of course, this is like an arranged piece, so nobody yell at me. This is kind of, we take liberties here with the folklore a bit here. Battle of the Gordons. arrangement. Nem vagy legény Berci with Zagyva Natalia. Going back now, I don't even know. 20 years or something like that, we released that one. 2000-ish, maybe a little after that. Nothing says go back to school kids like puppet shows. Everybody loves the Bábszínház, the puppet show. And, there's a great song that I'm going to play for you called Cifra Palota, which is the kind of the lead-in song usually for puppet shows in Hungary. And it's a very nice arrangement. But before I do that, a couple of months ago, I watched a movie about Mr. Rogers featuring Tom Hanks, and it got me thinking about back to the old days in Pittsburgh. Mr. Rogers is from Pittsburgh, and until I was 5 or 6 years old, I didn't. Neither my sister nor I really spoke any English at home. My mom and my dad just spoke Hungarian to us. We spoke Hungarian to all our friends. We didn't really have non-Hungarian friends, other than just the neighborhood here and there. But we were pretty. I spoke with a very thick Hungarian accent when I was like 4 or 5. In fact, I was very quiet heading into nursery school. But I mentioned Mr. Rogers because one of the shows we would watch as kids was Mr. Rogers, and isn't that great, kids? And Sesame Street and Electric Company. You guys remember those? The big three, I called it. The big three. And Mr. Rogers and my fate would somehow indirectly collide because he is from Pittsburgh, and the Tamburitsins of Duquesne University, where I went to university and performed. Of course, that's in Pittsburgh as well. And one of the alumnus or I guess you say alumnus of the Tamburitsins is a guy called Len Meledandri. And Len was a Tamburitsin in the 70s, and then in the 80s he got a job being the voice of Prince Tuesday. Prince Tuesday, one of the puppets in Mr. Rogers series. And Len worked there for many years with Mr. Rogers. Len was also an amazing musician and pianist. He'd fill in once in a while up to play piano on the show as well. And Len came back actually. I was in the Tamburitsins in the 90s to work with us to do some amazing musical arrangements, a kind of big orchestral, the Ukrainian, the Russian type of stuff. That's what he did, and we would pester him about stories about Prince Tuesday and make him do the voice once in a while. Len was a great guy. He still is a great guy. He still lives in Pittsburgh, and I saw him a couple of years ago at one of the reunions. The Tamburitsins actually performed for Mr. Rogers a year or two, I think, after I had graduated. So I never had a chance to meet the wonderful Mr. Rogers. But when I think of puppet shows, of course, I think of Mr. Rogers, and I also think of my time and experiences with Len Meledandri, a former Tamburitsin, Prince Tuesday. How about that for a story? Did you know? Remember that guy? Did you know? Now you know the rest of the story. Here it goes. Korpás Eva, great singer, in her CD called Csalogató. This is Cifra Palota.
Van nekem egy palotám, szép zöldek az ablakai, no és a falai, gyönyörű színesek, ráismertetek? Cifra palota, zöld az ablaka, gyere itt a tuba, rózsavár a viola, kicsi vagyok én, majd megnövök én, esztendőre vagy kettőre nagy lány leszek én. szegény Mátyás király egy napon nagyon megbetegedett, s ahogy úgy fekszik az ágyában, egyszer csak egy léc szállt az orrára, s akkor ezt kiabálta neki. Ashley, ne szállj rám, beteg vagyok én, legyezz engem Péter uram, meggyógyulok én. Ashley, ne szállj rám, beteg vagyok én, legyezz engem Julis asszony, meggyógyulok én.
A lovely arrangement, nice little stuff going on in the background, even a tambourine, not to be confused with a tamburica.
Bizony jött is Julis asszony és Péter uram, s legyezték a királyokat. Addig legyezték, míg meg nem gyógyult, s akkor újra fölkelt ágyából, kitárta ablakát, és gyönyörködött a virágos kertben. Cifra palota, zöld az ablaka, gyerek itt a duba, rózsa, vár a viola. Kicsi vagyok én, majd megnövök én, esztendőre vagy kettőre nagy lány leszek én. Kicsi vagyok én, majd megnövök én, mint a tüdő a vazékból, kidagadok én.
Korpás Eva doing the off the Csalogató CD, the Cifra Palota, nice little arrangement. And kudos to Mr. Rogers. By the way, it's a great movie with Tom Hanks and my friend Len Meledandri, the old voice of Prince Tuesday. I think other people might have done that voice too, but Len was one of them for sure for many years. Okay, so now the kids are asleep. They watched their puppet show. Time to kind of change. And I was thinking, after a couple of kids-oriented things, what can we play that's really not child-friendly? So once the kids go to sleep, you know, after the kids Táncház, maybe do a couple of cycles, have the moldvai, and then go kids, or the kids go home with some friends, and then we're all left behind. There's two really, really nasty type of Hungarian dances that I think, well, not nasty, excuse me, but, you know, not child-friendly. The first one is medvés. You know, medvés it's the bear dance, and this is actually, imitates, it's usually done by two guys, and it imitates the bear's mating, the bear mating dance. So you gotta watch it. There's a lot of activity going on. I don't want to say too much in case kids are listening, but you get my drift, parents. That's the medvés. The other one I was thinking about was mahala. Mahala, the great dance. You know, it's like Romanian and Turkish kind of groove. And we have the this is like, you know, during the Táncház, you know, Rácpeti comes, he takes his shirt off, or if you know, always in Vancouver, that always happens, and usually the women dance, and some guys, you know, brave men go in the middle, you know, crazy Pishti maybe comes in, old dance teacher, he was at Chipka, the first Chipka year, and he comes and he impregnates everybody, you know, it's a crazy times. That's during the Mahala. It's a great party. Turkish inspired dancing, kind of a belly dance. Well, we have, you know, the Csangálos from Százcsavás, the amazing the viola solo he does. But I was thinking to play a little different version of Mahala, which you may not have heard for a while or ever. And this is from the great cimbalom player Kalman Balog with his band. And this is their version, one of their versions of Mahala. Fantastic, fantastic arrangement. Listen to this. Aranyeső. Oh, I will die. thought of another graduate level course for Tanchaz University transgender study class. Legényes or karikázó, classification of dance in a transgender world. Hoppá! Listen to this and just not groove. Come on. Be careful if you're driving. Oh, another class. This is an ethics class. Exploring offensive csúlyogatások in a cancel culture society. Tanchaz University, graduate level ethics course. Exploring offensive csúlyogatások in a cancel culture society. Think about it. Now listen to the background, how it changes. The coffee kicked in there. There. The dance that parents do as their kids are leaving the front steps, you know, off to school. Bye kids, I'll miss you. They turn around. It's Mohala time, baby. Let's go. Oh. Frankie on the violin. Mohala from Bolo Kalman's band. That's so fun. All right, you could bring the kids back into the room. And now that that's over, we'll go back to some kids-oriented thing. And you know, probably the #1 band in Hungary that's really designed for kids music in the kind of the folklore scene. There's a few of them, but one of the classic ones is Kolompos. They're called the Kolompos band, and one of their members is Timár Sándor Jr. Now, Timár Sándor, of course, the senior was the famous choreographer. We talk a lot. His name comes up all the time during the interviews, actually. And he's the famous choreographer for the Hungarian State Folk Ensemble and one of the key leaders in the early days of the Táncház movement. So that's Timár Sándor Sr., but this is his son, who's a very nice contra player, and he's a part of that band, as well as one of my old contra teachers. I think probably, well, my first contra teacher in Hungary, Nagy Zoltán. There are a few Nagy Zoltáns, of course, the late Puder, another Nagy Zoltán, a dancer who passed away unfortunately quite young, a couple years ago, several years ago now, I think. And Nagy Zoltán, my father-in-law is also named Nagy Zoltán. Anyways, a lot of Nagy Zolis running around. Actually, I know a few more Nagy Zolis. But Nagy Zoli from the old Téka band. After he left Téka, he joined Kolompos, and you could hear him singing and telling stories always on these old Kolompos CDs. My kids loved listening to these growing up. They're still growing up, but when they were smaller. And one of the great tracks they loved was the Ekete Pekete Cukota Pe, which is kind of a Hungarian tongue twister song. And I like this one. It starts out with a bass solo. So I would like to send this song out to all the bass players and all the kids, of course. But the bass players, much maligned. Well, here you go. This is your chance to start a song with a bass solo. Here we go. Ekete Pekete Cukota Pe by Kolompos. Yeah, my gut strings. This is a song about the witch, making her brew all the various ingredients that she puts in it. All that whispering in the back, it's so witty, I love it. Go bass players.
Egy boszorka van, 3 fia van, iskolába jár az egy, másik bocskortarni megy, a harmadik ünnapodon a dudáját fújja nagyon, dana-dana-dan, de szép hangja van. Egy boszorka van, 3 fia van, iskolába jár az egy, másik bocskortarni megy, a harmadik ünnapodon a dudáját fújja nagyon, dana-dana-dan, de szép hangja van. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompolé. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompolé. Antanténusz, szórakaténusz, szórakatiki-taka, alap-alapandénusz.
Hope the people yelling in the back are okay.
Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompodé. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompodé. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompodé. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompodé. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé, csiszi á, csiszi bé, csiszi csoszi kompodé. Ekete-fekete cukota fé, ábel-bábel dominé.
Kolompos Band, another great tune from them. We'll listen to another one from them in a little while. love those guys. So, I hope you've been enjoying the interview series. We started with Kalman Magyar, one of the great gurus of the North American Táncház movement, and moved to Soma Salamon, the ethnomusicologist of the younger generation in Hungary. He had a lot of amazing things to say. Steve Katansky, of course, one of the great folk dance teachers, and probably taught more non-Hungarians Hungarian dances than anyone else in the U.S. in his long multi-decade career. Levente Székely, I'll go back to him in a second. We heard from the mover and shaker in Vancouver, Lajos Miklós, Lecho, from the Forrás band. And that was a really fun interview to reconnect with Lecho. Colleen Birch, PhD, Dr. Birch, she had ethnomusicology stuff to talk about, and I think that was really fun. And our first and thus far only female guest, but we're getting more. Next one's going to be a lovely woman as well. I'll keep these as surprise. Who's coming onto the show? Walt Mahovlich from the Harmonia Band in Cleveland. And he's always a great interview. He knows a lot about the Carpathian Basin music in general, and then Walt was always great. And Levente Fazakas from the Hevedar band. Boy, he really pulled through. He learned English watching Netflix, watching movies, and he was amazing. And of course, after I hung up with him, I thought about 6,000 more things to ask him, but I'll get him next time. And Mark Marchik was the most recent interview from the Lemon Bucket Orchestra, the front man, and Mark is has a lot of great things to say, and a lot of great experiences with Hungarian music, and that was really fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed all those interviews, and there's much more coming, of course, over time. Here's a guy who didn't miss many classes, though, going to school. Speaking of school, Székely Levente, one of the interviews I did. He was going to university at the same time playing playing violin for the Hungarian State Folk Ensemble. That's really multitasking. Something he told me after the interview, after we ended the interview, he said, he still wanted to talk about the Táncház movement and the historical aspects to it and the directions it's heading. And he wanted to talk about the pros and cons of what he sees the future of the Táncház movement. I'm like, damn, we should have gone there. But this is a good reason to always bring these people back. And those reasons are escalating, so it's great. Maybe we'll start recycling some guests eventually and get him back for 2.0. We talked to Levente about his amazing experience and with the music from Nagysajó from northern Mezőség. And I wanted to play something from Levente. This is off his album Szerelmem Nagysajó, Sej a Zséki határba. Not sure I played this yet in any of my other episodes, so listen to the beautiful music played by Székely Levente and friends, Nagysajó music, and some singing too. Levente went on in his career to become get the ambassador status, as he was the head representative for the country of Hungary in Taiwan, and he spoke about that in his interview. Check that out if you want to hear more about that, his experience. This is like butter on nice toasted bread. This song, amazing. Of Milan Hetin from the Hungarian State Folk Ensemble. Now he's a singer in the group, and he plays all over the place, sings all over the place. Milan Hetin, and the woman's voice was Hajdu Kinga, lovely singer. On the contra, Mester László Pintyő, we'll talk about him in a little while, and the bass player Nagymarosi András. By the way, Mark Marchik, the latest interview, talked about the impact Székely Levente had on Mark's own playing. Very interesting connection there. How he went from that high octave to the low octave as part of this fade out. Very classy. Nice. Székely Levente, music from Not Sajó. No one plays it better than him, in my opinion. That's a beautiful CD. Check that out. It's on Spotify and all over the place if you want to really pick that one up and listen to all those songs. And that's the same style for about an hour. It's really great. Very meditative and very beautiful. So again, for kids, we love the games, all the games we play at the Táncház. Of course, they play it in school as well, but I'm thinking about the, Aduna, Tisza zavarodik, and the kids running around. It's a lot of chaos at the Táncház, and during the camps that we have the kids, and we play during the day as well, and the zsebkendő, I lost my kerchief, someone has to kiss me. Of course, this is now it's going to be a little different, probably bump elbows or something like that, in terms of the COVID protection of the children. There's also nice adult games, right? There's one partner sitting on a chair with a balloon between the legs, and the other person has to run and pop the balloon. That's a fun game for adults. Or transferring the egg from one person, like under their chin, to the other. And then, I don't know, I forgot actually the rules of that game, but there's some funny stuff that happens. And the list goes on. We also have some really amazing repertoire of Hungarian kids games, but in the context of dancing. And so a great selection of these is from Csalóköz. And Csalóköz, of course, is within today's Slovak borders, but it's north of Sopron, Győr, that area, by the Austrian, the Hungarian, Slovak border. And Korpás Eva, who we've already played before, and she does a lot of stuff focused on kids. She did a nice CD called A Pozsonyi Sétatéren, on the walking streets of Bratislava. And this is a selection of music from Csalóköz. Let's listen to Korpás Eva and her musicians. You know this one. These games usually, are dance games or kids dances kind of start slow and they get insanely fast, really fun. Thinking, I hope in school they still teach kids, the famous list of famous Hungarians that you didn't know were Hungarian. I'm gonna roll some of these out soon. The Rubik's Cube was invented by a Hungarian. Ernő Rubik, famous Hungarian. Remember Columbo, the detective? Played by Peter Falk, Hungarian on his mother's side. How about William Fox? You've ever heard of Fox Films or Fox Sports, Fox News? The founder of Fox Films. His name is Vilmos Fuchs. He was born in Tolcsva, Hungary.
Aki az urak közt nősülni akar.
ever heard of the famous escape artist Harry Houdini? Yeah, he's Hungarian. He was born in Budapest. His actual name is Eric Weiss. Houdini. Teach that in school, guys. Okay, there's more. Drew Barrymore, the actress, yes, her mother's name, she's from Hungary, Ildikó Makó. Ildikó Makó. Drew Barrymore's mom. So there you go. Drew Barrymore. Barrymore.
Hogyan csinál, hogy? Majd megmondom, hogy 100 forint a csibe ára, lecsapom az asztalára. 100 forint a csibe ára, lecsapom az asztalára. Hogyan csibe, hogy?
Hogy?
Majd megmondom, hogy
What?
100 forint a csibe ára, lecsapom az asztalára. 100 forint a csibe ára, lecsapom az asztalára. 3 lábú görbeszék, 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 ez a kislány jaj de szép, jaj de nagyon szép. 3 lábú görbeszék, 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 ez a kislány jaj de szép, jaj de nagyon szép. 2 dobogás, 3 tapsolás, ne neves, mert megtudják, hogy szeret. 2 dobogás, 3 tapsolás, ne neves, mert megtudják, hogy szeret. 3 lábú görbeszék, 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 ez a kislány jaj de szép, jaj de nagyon szép. 3 lábú görbeszék, 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 ez a kislány jaj de szép, jaj de nagyon szép. 2 dobogás, 3 tapsolás, ne neves, mert megtudják, hogy szeret. 2 dobogás, 3 tapsolás, ne neves, mert megtudják, hogy szeret. 3 lábú görbeszék, 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 ez a kislány jaj de szép, jaj de nagyon szép. 3 lábú görbeszék, 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 ez a kislány jaj de szép, jaj de nagyon szép. 2 dobogás, 3 tapsolás, ne neves, mert megtudják, hogy szeret. 2 dobogás, 3 tapsolás, ne neves, mert megtudják, hogy szeret.
Nice. Pozsonyi sétatérbe by Korpás Éva. I hope you're enjoying my list of famous Hungarians that you may not have known are Hungarian. I have a few more. From the world of fashion, Calvin Klein, the designer. His father was born in Hungary. Leo was his father's name, Leo Klein. So Calvin Klein, CK, is Hungarian. And Estée Lauder, on the mother's side, her grandmother was from Sátoraljaújhely, and her grandfather was from Egelle in the Felvidék. So Estée Lauder and Calvin Klein are both Hungarian. Of course you knew that because they have fantastic fashion. And I'll read a couple more famous Hungarians you didn't know were Hungarian in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, you know, the kids love the Moldvai. Don't they love the Moldvai, the dance? Especially though the Bolgáros, you know, when the two lines face each other and the lines go in and out, and all the kids like to run right through those that line and like to get crushed by the people on the outside. That's really fun. It's like being in that trash compactor in the Star Wars, you know, with Harrison Ford and Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca. Chewbacca meets Zsurabádó. Hey, szia, 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 yeah. I like to play a really cool version of Bulgáros from the Kárpátia band. And this is a cool one because it includes cimbalom. Unger Balázs plays a mean cimbalom on this one. This is Bulgáros, Moldvai dance. When they play that flute, you know, the player goes underneath, so that's what you're hearing. That's the style. Lérem utol, lérem szállt. Bulgáros from the Kárpátia band, a nice little selection there that includes the cimbalom played by Unger Balázs. One of the episodes that I did on the Music and Story series is the one about Dunántúl, Transdanubia, you know, the western part of Hungary. I like putting that one together. That was very educational for me, as I considered the vast area of the region and the very interesting places we can focus on. And I was thinking about that episode in the context of kids, and of course, you know, the kids love to dance the ugros, back to school dance, ugros, the jumping dance. In my view, when we talk about Kolompos, I mentioned that band before with Timár Sándor Jr. and Nagy Zoltán and others. When I think about probably the greatest ugros set ever recorded, the most entertaining, and it's by Kolompos in my view. It's called Kezdődik a mulatság, the party is beginning, and this is a great way to start out a kids Táncház. In fact, when I lead sometimes one of these dances with no band, I play this one. This is a great ugros set from Kolompos's CD, Egyszer egy királyfi. Listen to this is fun. Little tambura in there.
Tekeredik, a kígyó rétes akar lenni. Tekeredik, a rétes kígyó akar lenni. Tekeredik, a kígyó rétes akar lenni. Tekeredik, a rétes kígyó akar lenni.
Oh, I almost forgot. Famous Hungarians that you didn't know were Hungarian. Alanis Morissette. Do you know her? The musician. Her mother is a 1956 immigrant to Canada. Alanis Morissette.
Tekeredik, a kígyó rétes akar lenni. Tekeredik, a rétes kígyó akar lenni. Tekeredik, a kígyó rétes akar lenni. Tekeredik,
sit down. Oh.
Sétálunk, sétálunk, egy kis dombra lecsücsülünk, csücs. Sétálunk, sétálunk,
Amazing, I love
egy kis
that.
dombra lecsücsülünk, csücs.
Yeah.
Sétálunk, sétálunk, egy kis dombra lecsücsülünk, csücs.
Modulate in D. That gives me time to talk about Louis C.K. His actual name is C.K. Lewis, the famous comedian. His father is Mexican-Hungarian, actually. Isn't that interesting?
Megeredik, aki jó rétes akar lenni. Megeredik, a rétes kígyó akar lenni. Megeredik, aki jó rétes akar lenni. Megeredik, a rétes kígyó akar lenni.
I'll end with this one. Joseph Pulitzer, the journalist, they named the famous journalism prize after him. He was born in Mokko, Hungary. Actually, my father-in-law, Nagy Zoltán, is from there. And Joseph Pulitzer came to America in 1917. There you go, the Pulitzer Prize, named after a Hungarian. From Erno Rubik to Joseph Pulitzer, you're welcome.
Egyetem, tengertánc, hajdúsókor mit kívánsz? Nem kívánok egyebet, csak egy gonosz egyedet.
Hey, I have a hajdu sógor.
Ha megfogod az ördögöt, a ládába zárod. Mennél jobban pickándozik, annál jobban rárod.
Interesting. These lyrics, we heard this in the very first track I played from Tükrös, and then played it. It came out, I think, also during a Naughty song, and then now too. Interesting. The I am small, I am tiny. That's the kind of theme of that song. Those lyrics. I have small hands.
Jártál az éjjel, színege madár, ablak itt van hátam, szívem asszonykám. Miért beljebb nem jöttél, színege madár? Miért nem az urattól, szívem asszonykám? Miért beljebb nem jöttél, színege madár? Féltem az urattól, szívem asszonykám. Nincs itthon az uram, színege madár. Folyópatakra jár, új hidat csinál. Lovaim vannak, hamar hazaér. Jaj, lesz nekünk rózsám, hogyha nálad ér. Rossz lovaim vannak, nem ér ma haza. Uram, adunk rózsám, egész éjszaka.
It's such a great CD. It goes on and on. It's a nice 9.5 minute ugros, you know. So I like to also, of course, welcome back the teachers, the music teachers, particularly as they teach their students all the music, violin and contra and bass, and in the folk schools and the classical. I got a very nice note from Claire Bright from the Fényes Banda, and thank you, Claire, for your kind note and great encouragement about the show. And I'm happy I can put a smile on your face when the show's on. So greetings to Claire Bright and all the other violinists in the US and in Canada and of course in Hungary and all over the place.
Egy kis kosárba királynénak leánya, mindon talári leszek a babámi. Itt egy kis kosárba királynénak leánya, mindon talári leszek a babámi.
My first music teacher, Erica Boyd in New Jersey, and then Stanley Bednad, a great teacher at the Manhattan School of Music, and then of course all my folk teachers, Rosko Béla, Nagy Zoltán, this guy playing the tamburica now on this track, he was my other contra teacher in Jászberény, and Halmos Béla taught as well, and Netti Sanyi, and all these great people. And a good story about hold on a second.
Lett a szilva, 2-3 van rajta, terítve az alja. 2-3 van rajta, terítve az alja.
Pinkyő, we talked about Pinkyő, he's the great contra player. He taught at Jászberény, Mester László is his name. Pinkyő is his nickname. That's a great dog imitation.
Elkapja a gatyában, lereped a rojtja. Erre gyere, erre, a csuda tudja merre, ördög bújjon beléje, egye meg a felne. Ördög bújjon beléje, egye meg a felne.
There's so much to. Oh yeah, I'll put these guys in the background here. So Mester László, Pinkyő, he's teaching the contra class in Jászberény. Jászberény is the little city in Hungary which every year hosts a great big dance and music camp. And back in the 80s, that was the place to be in the summer, man. It's an amazing 7 or 10 day camp. And we learned a lot, and there's a great collaboration, great parties, great to meet people from all over the place. And that was the place to be. And I remember the parties were off the hook. I was there like 1985, kind of young, too young to party then. 1987, I started getting into it, 89, I think, as well. And Mester Laci Pinkyő had the contra class, and, it was like, it starts at 9:30, and a.m., and he's not there, and we're all waiting for him. Where's Pinkyő? He shows up at like 10 or 10:15 in the morning, with the flip-flops, the hair's a mess. He just got a towel around him. He's clearly on his way to the shower, and he grabs his contra, and he's like, okay, today it's Széki négyes, and then here he goes. So he demonstrates, he's like, all right, again, whatever that bowing is, Anyway, so he shows it, and he writes a couple of chords up on the thing, up on the blackboard or the chalkboard, and he says, okay, that's what it is. I'll be back. And he leaves, and we're all left there practicing on our own, and he comes back half hour later, nice, the hair's straight, and he looks good, and he's ready to get into it. But that was kind of that teaching style, learning from Pinkyő back at Jászberény. Actually, it's funny to look back on those days now, because back in like 85, 87, that time period, people like Gombai Tamás, Szabó Attila from the Cheek band. Gombai Tamás, of course, plays with Szalonna and played with the state ensemble, Hungarian State Folk Ensemble. The Sarka brothers were there from the Gimes band from the Felvidék. They were all playing violin with my sister Ildikó, and I was playing the contra. And so we were all, all these people, we were all young there, and then everybody kind of, did their own thing after that. And look at Gombai Tamás, Gombi, who would have guessed that, one of us would become a legend of Hungarian folk music, and the other one would become Szalonna's second violinist. That's a joke. I love that guy, Gombi. I like to play something with my old teacher Pinkyő on it, and this is something very cool. You might have heard of the rendhagyó primás találkozó. This is the primás találkozó, the gathering of famous primás. But it's not just like violinists like Vizeli Balázs and Salonna, and these guys are a part of that crew, but primás really means band leader in the context of this. So you have wind players like Dres Misi. There's also a really cool guy called Bot Miklós, and Miklós plays the electric guitar, but he loves Hungarian folk music too. So this is a very, very cool selection. I picked it out from the YouTube. I don't say the YouTube. What am I, like 87 years old? From YouTube. This is Bot Miklós playing, and all of these various primások are backed up during the concert, and they also have a recording or two already out by Pintyő on a contra. Do Robi's the bass player, and Kuti Sanyi, at least on this track, he plays the cimbalom. But this is pretty cool. I'll play some of this for you so you can hear what I'm talking about. Bot Miklós playing the electric guitar, a little Kalotaszegi. Listen to this. You've never heard anything like that. Isn't that awesome? Guitarists, you can play this kind of music too. G minor 6, E on top. Getting really jazzy and rocky. It's awesome. That's Bot Miki, isn't that awesome? By the way, if that style sounds familiar, you know, Bot Miki was in Napra and Barbaro, which is like two of these really cool like rock band crossover folk world music things back. Maybe they're still playing. I have no idea, but I don't think either of those bands are playing actively. But let's listen to more of Bot Miki playing. Pretty incredible guitarist, isn't he? And his good sense of humor musically too. Tuti Sanyi, cimbalom. Mikos, the great, amazing guitarist in the rendhagyó primás találkozó. Well, I think I'm going to play the last song here. This is off the Hegyen Völgyön CD. We played it before at the beginning. This is from Tükrös. It's a really nice csárdás here. Thank you all for listening to this very special back to school episode. Share with at least 3 friends the fact that this show is going on, and make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and if on the interviews, and you want to subscribe for sure on the podcast, so you can pop right into your feed and you don't have to worry about anything, and you can listen to them offline too, which is really cool. Wish the best and the absolute healthiest start to the school year for not just all the young kids and the high school kids and everything in between there, and then of course university and graduate school and music school, and to the teachers and to the parents and the administrators. I know this is a very difficult time, so thank you all for your work, and kids, keep studying hard, and you too could be ambassador one day. That's right.
Utálkoson el a szarka, haza
On behalf of myself, Kalman Magyar Öcsi, and the Tanchaz Talk program, thank you all for listening, and have a great rest of the day and evening, or whenever you're listening to this. And until then, see you next time. I'll shut it off after the end of this song. You can dance, you're allowed to dance. What a wonderful melody. Ha! Opa! Listen to that. Ooh, nice chord. Arendás.